Welcome to Cooking with What You Have. In this series of recipes and cooking demonstrations, we will use a typical Caldwell County food pantry basket as a foundation for our recipes, along with normal ingredients that most people have in their kitchen. Our goal is quick and easy, nutritious food. Visit caldwellfoodpantry.com for recipes and cooking videos, or visit the Caldwell County Christian Ministry Food Pantry.
Hello, I'm Priscilla, the Icebox Queen, and I'm working with the Central Texas Food Bank to show you a recipe for refried beans that we're going to make into taquitos with cheese. So I've already soaked these beans overnight. I started this one last night so that I could just cover them with water and leave them in a dish. That lets the beans get fuller and much quicker to cook. There's also a quick soak method you can do that just takes an hour. But I decided to go with the overnight one for this one. I've got my vegetable oil here. I've got chopped onion, chopped garlic, and some smoked paprika. I like using this smoked paprika when I'm not using bacon in a dish because it gives it that smoky flavor without having to have the bacon. But you could also use bacon in this recipe instead. I'm going to start by adding about a tablespoon of oil to my pot here. And I'm going to turn my burner on medium. And then I've got my onions all chopped up. This is one whole white onion. And add them to the pot. So I'm stirring these onions around a little bit. I'm gonna let them get about 3 minutes that I'm gonna stir them around and let them get a little bit translucent, a little bit soft. And then I'm gonna add my garlic. The garlic takes much less time to cook, so I like to only give that about 20 seconds in the pan or else it'll burn, and then you have burnt garlic flavor throughout everything that you're eating. So I give these just a couple of minutes. They're gonna cook while the beans are cooking, so you don't need to give them, they don't need to cook all the way through. You don't need to let them get soft. Just enough to start getting crisp and brown there. I'm adding my garlic. That's 1 clove of garlic from a head that I diced up. You could also use minced garlic or garlic powder if that's what you have. Any of that will work there. I'm not giving that garlic very long because I don't want it to burn. I'm going to add these beans that I soaked overnight and rinsed. And give that a stir just so it gets mixed in with the onion. And then I'm gonna add my smoked paprika. And like I say, that's what gives it that smoky flavor without having bacon in it, though bacon is good in most things anyway. Stirring that in just to get it mixed through. So this is just water. You could use chicken broth if you wanted to, vegetable broth. I'm going with just water so that we can taste all the flavors we've got going here. And this isn't measured. I'm just gonna do enough water to cover the beans so that, whoops, I'm gonna pour it all down me. So that they cover the beans and give that a stir and see what it really looks like. I've just got enough liquid that it's just covering up the beans. And that's the beginning to that recipe. Now we sit and set it on low. I'll let it come up to a bubble, to not a full boil where it's bubbling over the side of the pan, but just to where I can see small bubbles coming up. And then I'm gonna turn it down to low and stir it every 10 minutes or so for about an hour. And that's when I'll check my first bean and see if they're done. Dried beans can vary a lot in how long they take to cook. Since I soaked these overnight, I'm gonna assume they'll be done in about an hour or an hour and a half, but you just have to test it and see to see how long it's gonna take. So these beans, my beans took about an hour and 15 minutes to cook, and now I'm just going after them with a potato masher. I didn't drain any of the liquid that was still in there. I'm just using that as my mixture to make these beans nice and soft. You can mash them to whatever consistency you like. And after I've mashed a bit, I added my salt, about a teaspoon to start, and then give it a taste. The amount of salt you use is always going to be at your discretion. And then let it work on the stove for a few minutes. You can add some oil if it starts sticking to the pan. and starts burning on the bottom, you can add lard or bacon fat or just vegetable oil, whatever you have handy, and get that so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of your pan. So mine are looking pretty good. I'm gonna set these to the side, and got my skillet. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of vegetable oil here and show you how to make the taquitos. The taquitos I'm gonna make are just gonna be bean and cheese, but you could add whatever you like. If you have extra veggies you wanna add, if you've got chicken you wanna add, if you wanna add scrambled egg and make it a breakfast taquito, you can make whatever you like. I'm gonna show you the simple version right now. I like that it starts bubbling around the edge right when I add it. That makes it not get too soggy if it starts cooking right when I add it. So these are corn tortillas, and I've got a bowl of shredded cheese over here. And I'm gonna let it bubble for a minute until I start seeing it bubble up from the bottom, so that I know I'm getting it nice and crispy. I've got my oven preheated over there to 375. And once I make a couple of these, I'm gonna put them in my baking dish and put them in the oven for about 10 minutes so that they get crispy on the top. Start sizzling him on the other side. You can see the bubbles starting to form on the top of it. Put him over here in my baking dish, and there's a spoonful of beans. If you've got kids working with you in the kitchen, this is a great way to make an assembly line. You do the tortilla and somebody does the beans, somebody does the cheese. But they are hot right after they come out of the pan, so make sure they're cool enough or you've got an adult working with rolling in the pan. I'm gonna stick those in the oven for about 10 minutes and then we'll see what they look like.
Thank you to all who have contributed to the Cooking with What You Have with the Icebox Queen.